Da-da-da. Da-da-da. Battle of Yorktown! The last battle of the American Revolution was extraordinarily important for the history of the United States of America. Without it, we would not even be here. We would still be a colony. The British would still be ruling over us, and we would not be the independent country that we are today. October 19, 1781. Yorktown, the last battle of the American Revolution. The British Army had possession over Yorktown. The Continental Army was at the lead and needed one more victory to defeat the British. George Washington continued to create a strategy to defeat the British General Cornwallis. The French army arrived and offered their forces in aid of Washington's fleet. The French-American siege. The French and the Americans took forts in order to get leverage on the British. The main causes were: Washington realized he could bombard the British until submission, French naval support, the Continental armies and their trained army made the blockade possible.
The Battle of Yorktown for the American colonists consisted of protecting their land from some of the last British troops that were trying to keep ownership of the American land. The Americans acted the way they did, surrounded the British army, because if they won this battle, they would most likely win the American Revolutionary War, as Yorktown was a key point for military strategic planning. For the American colonists, it was an incredibly significant battle because of the reward of winning the war. Furthermore, it was one of the largest victories as they had the strategical advantage over the British due to them outnumbering the British along with the help of the French troops. The Siege of Yorktown was one of the battles that was the most beneficial for the American troops.
A vast number of people from different towns and the country came forward to see the great and mighty sight. The British had a very large gate on the south side of their fort, and on that side was a level old field. Our army was placed in a solid square column about half a mile or more around the said fort gate. It was a great sight to see. Part of our line was Continental troops, a part was militia, and a part was French, and on the outside of this column of soldiery, there was a vast many spectators, mostly in carriages. Some of them had come as far as from the city of Richmond, which was upwards of 70 miles. There was many thousands of these spectators.
During the battle, it was highly uncommon for women to be fighting along armed troops against the opposing side, making them a very small minority in the battlefield. Most of the women involved in battle were involved after the battle itself has ended. Due to the location of the American Revolutionary War, it was more common for women to be fighting for the American side rather than for the British. Many of the activities that women could perform in battle were things such as caring for the wounded and washing laundry. It would be common for women to charge money for the laundry they washed.
The Battle of Yorktown was the last effort of British troops to protect the strategical territory of Yorktown from the American and French troops. This event in the timeline of the American Revolution was one of the major defeats for the British Army. This is because they were greatly outnumbered by both American and French troops. They were in small numbers due to the fact that the war had gone on for many years and it was relatively hard to mobilize British troops across the colonies, mainly due to distance. The British most likely surrendered because they were greatly outnumbered, and fighting would only bring more conflict and death to an already losing battle. They gave victory to the Americans as it was not worth to give up the few lives they were left in the battlefield.
At daybreak, the enemy bombardment resumed, more terribly strong than ever before. They fired from all positions without let-up. Our command, which was in the Hornwerk, could hardly tolerate the enemy bombs, howitzer and cannonballs any longer. There was nothing to be seen but bombs and cannonballs raining down on an entire line.
Once the Battle of Yorktown had concluded, there was a certainty that the United States of America would become that independent country that it is today. After the Revolution, the Treaty of Paris was signed, which meant that the colonies were officially free of British control. Although the Battle of Yorktown did end the 200 years colonization of the British in America, some things remained the same. Racism towards African Americans and slavery persisted. Rights for women did not change as they still had no legal right to vote, and fear and negative feelings towards Native Americans remained present in the American society. Although many things remained the same, there was also plenty of change as the United States was liberated from a monarchy and converted into a democracy. The British were no longer colonizers, and most important of all, the United States became a recognized independent country. Since the Battle of Yorktown was the last large armed conflict, there were many ethical dilemmas that we have to take into consideration whenever we analyze this siege. The British troops could have potentially kept fighting until the end, but eventually decided that despite the importance of the battle, it was important to move to surrender few troops they had left. This shows the clear dilemma of valuing the worth of British life. Similarly, another ethical dilemma could have consisted on whether or not the Americans and the French troops should kill the British troops or leave them alive. As mentioned, killing the British might have only sparked more conflict and have delayed the surrender of the British Army. In the end, the American Revolution, more specifically the Battle of Yorktown, was an event that has marked history for all eternity, especially for us, Americans, as it was the beginning to a new era, a better age of independence, freedom, liberty, and justice for all.